the question that I wanted to kind of pose out to the panelists and anybody else that is on the call, at Bridgestone right now, cost measures are so important because of the cost of relocation. And when we're moving people, we're being really careful about who's moving when and who's moving where. But I have so many pieces of the population that are skirting the formal relocation policy, which the policy doesn't say you have to use the policy. It is there to use if you're going to relocate somebody. So it's not an overarching policy for the company that says you must use this program. Everyone is skirting the program and going towards a lump sum sign-on bonus that's just paid through payroll. It's not grossed up. They're receiving no services. They have no support from an RMC, no support from me. So I'm curious if you guys have policies that are written to truly point any relocation in the company to you so that they're always getting, number one, an equitable move package. They're getting what they're eligible for. The sun keeps moving here, sorry. I'm lighting up and turning dark. For me, equity is really the biggest piece, is making sure everyone across the company is receiving the same type of relocation package and eligibility. So just a question to you guys is, how does that work in your company? Do you have mandatory relocation policy, or do you see this happening, and how do you combat that?
Sure.
Kristen, you want to take that first?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've dealt with that situation to some extent. So first, from a compensation standpoint, it's been a fun and interesting discussion. I think everybody in Coca-Cola agrees with me, or they do know, that a sign-on bonus is not a miscellaneous relocation allowance, and a miscellaneous relocation allowance is not a sign-on bonus. So those two things have to stay separate. The purpose is completely different. And one of the things that we've done at Coke, so the domestic relocation program reports into one of my account managers. And I love domestic relo so much that, I probably get involved in it more than she would appreciate. But we were looking at that issue of, well, what if we have somebody and for whatever reason we don't want to offer a full relo? You get into that equity question. We do have a policy component, because if we're going to go out and offer lump sums anyways, I'd rather track it and make sure that it's like a guided relocation allowance, not a sign-on bonus. So we do have a lump sum component in our policy. So at least that way I can track it and offer additional resources. And we're not going to play let's make a deal or I need to move somebody for less. But I'd say one of the things you got to do is get the recruiters on board with you and help them understand. And a lot of times it's not even the recruiters, it's the hiring managers who say, I don't want to spend the money, or we can get this guy for less, or whatever the case is. So you've got to have the recruiters as that first, first step to ensure compliance.
Okay. Neil.
That's a great thought, Chris. I feel like then I'm on the right path. I took some time to do a full training on what all relocation involves and why it's beneficial to have a relocation package. And I did that with our HR business partners who are guiding managers through, financial planning and budgeting for next year. And then it did touch our recruiters. So I'm glad to hear that.
I would love to connect offline with you on this too, because it's something I'm passionate about. But one of the, and you're absolutely on track with it. The conversation I had with the recruiters was, we spend so much time and energy, and we've completely revamped our onboarding process. And relocation is the ultimate onboarding. So if you're looking at a new employee or even an existing employee going into a new role, we spend all this time, energy, and money. And the Coca-Cola onboarding process is amazing. And they say, oh, we've got so much work left to do. You guys have it nailed. That was when I was coming into Coke. I mean, we really, really do. But when you talk about giving somebody, with a married couple with 3 kids or 2 kids, $5,000 or $10,000 and telling them good luck, get a U-Haul, like that's not an onboarding experience. Those two experiences are not going to match, and you're only hurting yourself. So that was the leverage and the logic that we used with HR and recruiters.
So, and before I'm going to let Neil interject. I also want to say, so that Kristen, you're aware, when we end this program so that you can continue staying connected, I am going to share with all of you that are participating in this roundtable the actual contact information so that you continue as a network to remain engaged and actually are there to assist and benchmark and best practice with each other. So Neil, can you interject while we still have basically another 90 seconds?
Sure. Real quick, I think I agree with a lot of things that Chris said here. I think all of us as relocation professionals in corporate companies are always going to battle that sort of value proposition statement. So you always got to be able to be working that value proposition statement. Why does global mobility exist in your company? What do we bring to the table? What is our value other than just sort of, distributing money? When people move, how do we deliver services? How do we deliver an experience? I can tell you this, that Cisco went to a very cafeteria style program after it had a very structured policy at different tiers for many years. It went to this cafeteria style program where essentially you can be as expensive or as cheap as you want to be, Mr. or Mrs. Manager. You get to choose. That has its pros and cons. One, it directs all that traffic, like Chris said, into our program because they can be as cheap as they want and we can just distribute lump sums. That doesn't always give the best experience, but it gets them in our door. And in getting them in the door, we can start to consult and propose additional benefits. We've now swung the pendulum a little bit more to the middle because we conducted, after getting all that traffic in, voice of the customer surveys, which very specifically point to employees want services. They don't want cash, they want help. And there's a lot of different arguments you can make with that kind of data. To Chris's point, having data help tell the story to help battle against that value proposition of wanting to bring services, wanting to bring employee experience to the table. So Kristen and anyone else who wants to connect with me, I'm happy to tell you about our survey stuff that we've done which has helped create that value proposition and change some of the attitudes around delivering services.
And Neil, you were gracious enough to let me know when you were setting up and really starting to conduct the voice of the customer survey. So I would encourage all of you to